Locations in the comments, folks. As y'all coming in, put your locations in the comments. Put your locations in the comments. I'll shout a few people out in a moment. We will be ready to get started shortly. Shout yourselves out in the comments, locations. We're going to get started in a moment. We are live here. We good there. Yes. Good here. Yes. Shout yourselves out. Tell me your locations in the comments, folks. Give me your locations in the comments. I need to do something. Put your locations in the comments as y'all are coming in, folks. I'm going to shout a few people out. Today's topic: Donald Trump demolished the White House. At least that's what I heard. Donald Trump demolished the White House. That's what we're going to talk about here today. Jay Hour over there on Instagram. Good morning. I appreciate you. Good seeing you here. We are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Live on LinkedIn. Yes, we're active on LinkedIn. Just checked it. And let me see. Are we active on X? Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. My name on all four of those platforms, LinkedIn, X, Rumble, YouTube, is at Dre All Day. For those of you who use any of those apps, make sure you're following me on at least one other app besides whichever one you are watching me on right now. We are live on Facebook, Facebook/Work on Your Game University for the Facebook users out there, Facebook/Work on Your Game University. We are live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin and live on TikTok at Work on Your Game. So the topic here today, again, has already been, all right, as has already been explained here and told to you all. We're going to talk about Donald Trump somehow, some way, allegedly demolishing the White House. That's the topic here today. Did Donald Trump demolish the White House? We're going to talk about that. And there's some other topics that will come up that we'll probably get to later on this week or going into next week, because these ones will be around for a little bit. But I'll hold those until later. So let me shout out a few people in the comments, and then we will get started as y'all are coming in. Again, shout yourselves out in the comments. Leah, thank you for the heart early on. Marky Man, congrats on the gifted badge. Giga Dad, good morning. Leah, good morning to you. Marky Man, good morning. Thank you for the Go Popular and the DJ glasses, Leah. Thank you for coming in quick. 140.6 Walnut Creek, California. Happiness now from the ATL. Murphy the Mutt, gifted badge. Congrats. And the AFF from Kentucky. Good morning, Tina. Say good morning. Ready for a daily dose of common sense. Good. I'm glad to be the provider of the daily dose of common sense. I should start. I don't know. Maybe I should start using that as the theme for what we do here. Tina checking in from Chesapeake, VA. Giga Dad said, I love that combo. Appreciate it. The shirt combo cost. You said cost. I think you mean the tie. Murphy the Mutt, Bristol, Tennessee. Good morning. Sacramento in the building. Marky Man. 4 Baptiste from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Leah from South Georgia. Bruce from Houston. L. Johnson from Union, New Jersey. All right, temperature not that bad. 57 is livable. Carol Ann Collins from New York. Mental Libtard, Flo Rider. Carla, Indiana. Good morning. Cure Fan SC from Connecticut. Good morning. SWKS Mom from Southwest Rural Kansas. I have been to Kansas. I don't know if I've been to that part of Kansas. Marky Mark, Grand Rising, Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit is in the house. LD Fredo says, why has Congress been so quiet as of late? Because they ain't got no job right now. Right now, there ain't no work to do. They're shut down. Nay, thank you for the share. Good morning. Nana Cat from Oklahoma. Bravo. 11 Bravo from South Carolina. Rick Thomas checking in from Ellington, Florida. Ellington is a town I have not heard of. Let me look up Ellington. Let me see where in Florida that is. Ellington, Florida. Ellington. So I'll look it up. It is coming up on the map. This is... Oh, okay. You're over in the Tampa Bay area. Okay, shout out to Tampa Bay. You're not far from Bradenton. All right, I used to live in Tampa Bay briefly. Shout out to Tampa Bay. Shout out to that area. Nana B from Riverside, California. XTR from Shingletown, California. Not heard of that place either. Andrew Zueger from Southwest Minnesota. Not the metro area. And you got a sad face. You're happy. You're not happy to be from there. Laura Iggy Lover from Oklahoma. Jesse James from Prattville, Alabama. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for joining. XTR said beautiful title. Thank you. So the topic here today, Donald Trump allegedly has demolished the White House. A lot of people had a lot to say about this. Today is Wednesday. I think Monday or Tuesday, a lot of people were talking about this because there are a lot of photos going around on X. Did y'all see these photos of the White House that Donald Trump is allegedly demolishing? So everybody was posting the same photo of Donald Trump's editing of the White House. So what's happening here is, so this guy named ALX on X, he has 1 million followers, calls himself an American supremacist. I never heard of him. He said, just so we're clear, the past 48 hours of Democrat meltdowns that Donald Trump is, open quote, destroying the White House, close quote, have been over construction done on an area in the yellow box. So he puts this into context for everybody to understand, which is important. So this is the White House. As you can see, it's a pretty big facility. And the construction is happening in this yellow box right down there. That's the construction, the wing. That's called the East Wing of the White House. So this is what Donald Trump is working on right now. The West Wing and the White House residence, all the rest of it. The East Wing is a small piece of the White House. That's what he's working on right now. But a lot of people are trying to make a big deal out of the fact that this construction is happening. And everybody's been posting this exact same picture, this photo right here, which shows the construction vehicles going in and starting to do their thing on a construction project, which means they got to tear some stuff down so they can build some other stuff up, holding it up so all of you can see it. So this is what everybody is talking about right now, the destruction, quote unquote, of the White House. Let's see what a couple other people had to say about this, because I'm sure there's some funny things here to be said. So there's a bunch of people pushing back now. Some people posted photos of other things that happened in other years when it comes to the White House construction. Let's see. Now, let's see what the host of The View had to say. I think they got something interesting to say. Let's hear what Whoopi Goldberg and company.
When building a White House ballroom. I'll tell you, that's a wonderful welcome, but you're not going to like what we're about to tell you. Do you know who is still bulldozing ahead with building a White House ballroom that no one voted for, no one asked for, and once again, it's promises made and promises broken. Take a look.
It won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it. And pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite. Right behind us, we're building a ballroom. They've wanted a ballroom for 150 years, and I'm giving that honor to this wonderful place. Right on the other side, a lot of construction going on, which you might hear. You're going to see a ballroom the likes of which I don't think it'll be topped.
Okay. Okay.
It's Whoopi Goldberg
That is
talking.
not your building. You don't own that. That would be like me going over to Trump Tower and saying I'm going to build a disco. They've wanted a disco in Trump Tower for hundreds of years. Yeah. So, come on. You don't own that building. That is the people's building. You don't own it. You don't own it. You cannot take it down. You don't own it. Take it on to another town. Okay, that's a one.
All right, so there's your daily dose of TDS. I'm sure we'll get some more of it from some of you in the comments, but we'll get to that in a minute. This guy named Damani Felder said, Obama put a whole basketball court in the White House and liberals ate it up. But Trump funds construction of a White House ballroom and they're losing their minds. Ignore these people. That's what he said. The White House made a post, this is back in July, We get an expansion beginning in September. Construction will begin a brand new 90,000 square foot ballroom that will be enjoyed for generations to come. And they got a picture of what the ballroom is supposed to look like. And all right, let's get into more of the details of what's happening here. So he launched what may be the most significant alteration to the executive mansion, that's the White House, since the late 1940s. This is the demolition of a substantial portion of the east wing of the White House. I showed y'all that photo already. To make way for a lavish, privately funded 90,000 square foot ballroom with capacity for up to 999 guests. That's probably thanks to the fire marshal. 999 guests, can't have 1,000. Estimated cost now $250 million. So whoever donated this money, any of you concerned that there's not enough money going around the economy right now, it's $250 million for this. So the problem is not that there's not enough money. It's just that you got to get yourself aligned with where the money's at. It's $250 to build this ballroom. Now, the East Wing, this is donor money, by the way, not taxpayer money. Now, the East Wing was originally built in 1902 and was expanded in 1942 to cover the bunker beneath. Traditionally, it houses the First Lady's offices. That would be Melania's office. Previous to that was Dr. Jill Biden's office. So let's make sure we call her Dr. Jill Biden. Before that was Melania again, and before that was Michelle Obama. You heard Michelle Obama's podcast? Neither here nor there. Now, traditionally houses the First Lady's offices and visitor facilities, yet Donald Trump insists the mansion lacked a proper space for large-scale events, citing the existing East Room's 200 guest limit as inadequate. So right now, the East Room can hold 200 people. Donald Trump said, we want to make this more bigger and more grandiose and more amazing, and we want to hold bigger events for more people so I can do more bigly stuff. So this is right in line with Donald Trump. This is right in line with Donald Trump's brand, is that instead of having a space that can hold 200 people, he wants a space that can hold 1,000 people. Technically 999, again, thanks to the fire marshal. Now, he claims that this project is fully funded by donors and by himself. Donald Trump has a couple dollars, with no cost to taxpayers, and it points to historical precedents of presidential expansion from Teddy Roosevelt expanded the West Wing in 1902. Harry Truman did a massive reconstruction between 1949 and 1952. And he frames that his ballroom is just a continuation of evolution of the executive mansion. I don't think there's anything crazy about that. Now, critics, of course, he has plenty. We just heard from one of them, Whoopi Goldberg. How y'all feel about Whoopi Goldberg? Critics counter that the timing and the government shutdown and fiscal scrutiny at the same time that this is happening, of course, they're going to use this. Like, hey, there's a government shutdown right now. Nobody's working in the government. And now Donald Trump is doing a remodel of the White House while a bunch of people don't have jobs and a bunch of people don't know how they're going to pay for groceries and a bunch of people don't know how they're going to retire. And here he is building an expansion to the White House, but the money isn't coming out of those people's pockets. So optically, they can frame this as looking bad, even though logically it doesn't actually make any sense. But they say the timing of this and the donor influence raise questions about preservation, priority, and precedent. I don't think there's any question about precedent. When it comes to priority, again, the donors gave money for this. Now, you may say, well, the donors could have gave money to help everyday Americans out. Technically, they could, but you can't tell somebody else what to do with their money. And preservation, well, the White House has been preserved. Let's look at the photo again, just so everybody understands. The White House is all of this, and the only thing being worked on is this small piece right here. Relatively speaking, this small piece right here is the only thing being worked on. It's a small piece of the White House. By the way, those of you watching over there, that part with the yellow is the only part that's being worked on the White House. So it is being preserved. All that said, let me introduce myself for those who don't know me. And those of you who do might have forgot. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books. Run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is we help you learn to command the room without words, how to sell without speaking, how to persuade without pushing, how to influence without trying. You do that through what we call presence. We have a whole program called the Power Presence Protocol. You can see the manual right there above my shoulder. That is a manual. That's not a normal book that you would read. That 300-page manual comes with you being in our mastermind for the Power Presence Protocol. We have a challenge coming up starting November 10th. I told you all that this was coming quickly. I mentioned that yesterday. I told you quickly. When I say quickly, I mean very quickly. So November 10th is the Power Presence Challenge, 5-day challenge. Any of you can get in, just go to the link, Power Presence Protocol. I didn't change the link in my bio. I'm about to change it right now. Those of you watching on TikTok, I'm about to change the link in my, let me change the link in my profile right now because I meant to do this yesterday, but I didn't get around to it. Links here. Peace. There it is. Okay, so I just changed the link in my profile. Let me make sure it's there. I've just changed the link in my profile on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, just go to the link in my profile. You can learn more about the Power Presence Protocol, getting into our challenge, or you want to jump straight into the mastermind, you can do that as well. All that is at powerpresenceprotocol.com. Again, I told you this was coming quickly. We move very fast over here. So let's get into this. This project is being privately funded and designed to impose zero taxpayer costs. So all the people crowing about Donald Trump doing this, what really are they standing on? Because there's no cost to taxpayers. Taxpayers didn't pay for this. This is not being paid with money that got allocated from Congress. This is coming from donors, and Donald Trump also said his own money. So what do people have to complain about here? Not much. So they can't really do that. So all they're pivoting to is, well, hey, a lot of people are in bad straits when it comes to finances right now. How are you building a ballroom? Or the White House is a beautiful place. Anything Donald Trump does to it is going to make it worse. I think you spend $250 million on something, you could probably make it look pretty good. And you can probably hire the best designers you can get, the best construction you can get. I would guess that's what Donald Trump's going to do. He's built some nice buildings. If we look around, I don't hear anybody saying that Donald Trump's buildings don't look good. There's some Trump buildings down here in South Florida, as a matter of fact. Sunny Isles is a couple Trump towers. There's a Trump golf course around here somewhere. I seen one in Doral. I think it's in Doral, the Trump golf course. Sunny Isles has a couple Trump high rises, and of course New York has a bunch of stuff. He has Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach. I've never heard anybody say that the places don't look good. All people find other things to complain about with these things. So I think this is going to come out pretty well. Now, Trump says a bunch of corporations and himself will cover the $250 million cost. This preserves public funds. So there's nothing coming out of public funds for this. There's no story here on that point. So again, this is why his detractors are going to anything else, because nothing to pull on with that. Now, detractors say this is a vanity project and it is tone deaf amid economic strain. I say you could say this about pretty much anything anybody does with a dollar, because there's always somebody who's in a strenuous economic situation. There's never a time in America where everybody is doing good financially. There's always going to be somebody in a strenuous situation financially. So to say, hey, you shouldn't do that with your money when there are people who are hungry or starving or unsure how they're going to pay their bills. There's always people who feel that way. There's always people in that situation. So what are you going to do? Not do anything simply because there's somebody out there who might need something? What are you supposed to do? And they say that this is a vanity project. Okay, maybe it is a vanity project. I mean, he was elected president by us twice, maybe 3 times, depending on who you ask. He got elected president. He secured money privately to do it, and he decided to do it. Since we elected him president, he kind of has the power to do stuff like this. So what are people's complaints? This is, again, another example of Trump derangement syndrome, is that people are so deranged about this guy that anything he says, does, or allegedly thinks, people are going to come up with some negative frame to put around it to make it seem like he's doing something wrong, bad, illegal, etc., because they can't come up with anything of substance to say about what he's doing. So it is a vanity project. Okay, so what? So what if it's a vanity project? The whole TV show The View is a vanity project. Why does The View exist? Does The View exist to inform people of anything? No. Does The View exist to warn people of emergencies? No. Why does The View exist? It's a vanity project. It's 5 or 6 women, however many women they got up there, sitting up there and telling you their personal opinions about things that are happening in everyday life. All right, there's a bunch of people out there starving. Why aren't they working at a soup kitchen feeding the homeless? I mean, if it's all about economic strain, it's a vanity project. Okay, why do y'all have hair and makeup people to make sure you look good before you go on camera, before you start recording the show? Is that not a vanity project? Anything can be called a vanity project if it's not food, clothing, shelter, or providing food, clothing, shelter to other people, which is what 99.9% of us do every single day, is something that has nothing to do with providing food, clothing, shelter to other people. So this whole argument that this is a vanity project is, so what? I just looked at any person, especially those of you who are anti-Trumpists. I looked at your whole day and said, what are you doing today? Okay, you're doing some vanity project things. So all of you who are listening to this right now, this is a vanity project. All right, is any of this feeding the homeless? The fact that we're on social media talking, No. But we're doing it because we want to do it. And there's nothing wrong with doing something that you want to do. There's nothing wrong with doing something that you want to do. If you have the resources to do it, then do what you want to do. And Donald Trump has the resources, obviously, and that's why he's doing it. So pundits are trying to question his priorities, but they're not really in position to question his priorities because he got elected president. And elections have consequences. You elect somebody as president, they get to do what they want to do as president. If you didn't want him to do what he wanted to do, then you can hire somebody else. And as we can see, he got chosen. There was somebody who made a post about Kamala Harris. This guy right here. So it's called, this guy's name is The Frenchie. He has 31,000 followers on X. He calls himself a Democratic activist, and he has the flags for, looks like the USA. There's a country I don't know. He has a Ukraine flag, the UK flag, and looks like a French flag. He calls himself the Frenchie, so probably French flag. Amateur and international politics. And this is what he says. His post says the following. And I'm show you what the post looked like so you know who he's talking about. So he has a post with a black and white photo of Kamala Harris. Looks like she's getting on or off a plane. And he says the following. She wasn't perfect. Nobody is. But one thing is certain. She would never have destroyed the White House. She would never have given $40 billion to a foreign country at the expense of her farmers. She would never have betrayed the U.S. Constitution. All of this is nonsense. First of all, the White House wasn't destroyed. This is a straw man argument. She would never give $40 billion to a foreign country at the expense of her farmers. That's false because the Biden-Harris White House gave plenty of money to foreign countries at the expense of things they could have done for people in America. Again, you could always make that argument no matter what. She would never have betrayed the Constitution. Well, Donald Trump didn't betray the Constitution. That's a made-up frame that people try to use against Donald Trump. So these are the Donald Trump pundits, Trump derangement syndrome in full splendor, Trump derangement syndrome over this whole thing, because this is really a non-story, but the TDS holders made this into a story is the reason why we're talking about it. And I'm sure plenty of you have plenty to say about it. We'll get to that after I get through these points. Now, Trump presents this, the way that Donald Trump is framing this whole thing is that this is a functional modernization. So instead of, again, having a building whose biggest space is 200, can hold 200 people, he's making a space that can hold 999 people. That sounds like an upgrade to me. That's a 5X upgrade. He claims that the East Room and the stuff that they had, like putting tents up for events, that was outdated and instead needed a ballroom. So he highlights that state visits and galas needed bigger indoor space. I think this is a good idea. I think that's a pretty solid argument. Now, personally, I'll admit that I don't know the interior logistics of the White House. Have I ever been to the White House? I mean, I don't think I've ever been inside. I've been to Washington, D.C. plenty of times. I don't think I've ever been inside the White House. I don't know the logistics of the White House as well as maybe some of you or any president knows the logistics of the White House. But if he says visits and galas need bigger indoor space so that he can have bigger and better events, it sounds like a good idea. On top of that, this seems like a little bit of a selfless move by Donald Trump, if we may say so, because they just started the construction on this. So by the time this is completed, Donald Trump might not even be president anymore. Maybe he'll get invited back to the White House by hopefully a Republican president, hopefully for him, a Republican president that follows him, and he can enjoy this building or this extension to the White House that he started building. But by the time this is complete, his administration, his term may be up. Who knows how long this is going to take? This could take years to get things like that done. So he's not even going to get to enjoy this as much as he wants to. He's building this space for future events to be held. And if any Democrats really have a problem with it, well, what they can do, they can protest this wing being added, this addition being added to the East Wing by doing what? Never have an event in that part of the White House. They could just do that. How many of you think they would do that? Let's say Kamala Harris is the president in 2028. You think she would do that? I'm never having any events in that ballroom because Donald Trump built the ballroom. You think Gavin Newsom would abstain from using that ballroom? No, he would use it. Kamala would use it. And anybody else would use it moving forward. AOC would use it. Why? Because it's there. And I think this is going to help all of them moving forward. They can have bigger events with more people at the White House. Why not? What do you have to lose? And Donald Trump has secured the money for this. So none of them had to come up with the money. This is all great things. And I wonder what Bernie Sanders has to say about this. Are these the oligarchs paying for this? We may get to Bernie another day this week. We'll see. Now, many say that this alters a historic landmark and potentially bypasses review. I say the potentially bypassing review is bullshit. He's the president. He can pretty much do this? Who's he need to get review from? Now, they say it alters a historic landmark. Okay, I agree with that. I'm 100% agree. If a critic says that what Donald Trump is doing right now is altering a historic landmark, I agree. This is altering a historic landmark. Altering a historic landmark is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes historic landmarks need to be altered. They need to be updated. They need to be upkept so that they can be maintained and that they can accommodate whatever is happening now. Just because something is historic does not mean you need to keep it exactly as it is forever. Sometimes things need to be upgraded or at least upkept in some way so that the current situation of life can engage with whatever that historic landmark is. For example, my hometown is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm based in South Florida, but I'm from Philadelphia. If you go to Philadelphia, you go to the downtown area, you have, they call it Independence Mall. They used to call it that. I don't know what they call it now. But in that area, you go down Market Street down to around, Market Street around 4th or 5th Street. Around that area, you have all the historic stuff. So you have Ben Franklin, a frame of Ben Franklin's old house. You got a couple of museums down there. You have where the Liberty Bell is. You have these historic buildings, because Philadelphia was the first capital of the United States of America before Washington, D.C. And you have these historic buildings. You got these people who walk around in the old clothing, like a guy walks around as Ben Franklin. There's a guy who's George Washington. They have these horse and carriage rides that'll take you around the downtown for like $100. And the Liberty Bell is there. And the Liberty Bell, I'm sure, has been altered many times. Not altered so much that you don't know what it is, but altered many times over the years to make sure that it's still the Liberty Bell. I believe last time I was in Philly, I think they have it encased in glass, so you can't really touch it. The Liberty Bell, if they got people touch it, that thing will fall apart. It's encased in glass, but people get in line just to take pictures with the Liberty Bell. But they got to upkeep the thing because it's made of, I don't know what it's made of, probably some type of metal. That stuff will rust out and fall apart if you don't upkeep it, you don't alter it in some way so that it maintains. So altering a historic landmark, people use this language as a way of making it seem like you're doing something crazy when you're really not. When you put it into context and you really think about, is there anything wrong with altering a historic landmark if it means making it better for use or better for consumption? The answer is no, it's not. There's nothing wrong with this. So again, this is TDS. Now, the East Wing has heritage value, and there's a company called the National Capital Planning Commission that they are allegedly the ones who get to okay any of these changes. So I don't know if the NCPC, National Capital Planning Commission, I don't know if they had anything to do with this. I don't know if they gave their approval or not, but clearly it looks like it doesn't matter. Y'all seeing the same thing I'm seeing? I don't know if they gave their approval or not, but even if they didn't, what are they going to do? What exactly are you going to do to stop the president? Is this something that they can take to court? Is this something they can take to Congress? Is this something they can take to the Supreme Court? I don't think so. So this is happening one way or another. Again, this is TDS, people trying to make a story out of this. Now, similar expansions have been undertaken by past presidents. So this is part of tradition. This is not something brand new. For example, Teddy Roosevelt, Harry Truman, both reshaped the White House to match presidential needs. So that was, Truman was what, 50, 60, 70 years ago? So this is the largest addition to the White House since. Now, there have been other additions. For example, Barack Obama got a basketball court installed in the White House. Now, to get the basketball court installed was not nearly as much work, but at nearly as much cost as what Donald Trump is doing. And it was done quickly enough that Barack Obama himself could actually play basketball in the White House while it was happening. Donald Trump is doing something bigger. So these additions and expansions and alterations to the White House are not some new thing. And by the way, the White House is the residence of the damn president. So if anybody's going to make an adjustment to the White House, who's it going to be? Who gets to make that call? If it's not going to be the president, who gets to make the call of an addition being made or an expansion or an alteration being made to the White House? Who else is qualified to do it if it ain't the president? Whoopi Goldberg on The View sounding stupid, saying that's not your house. Technically, it is his house. The White House is the house of the president. Yes, it's the house of the people, and the people elect who? The president. So we chose a president through a free and fair democratic election process. We chose Donald Trump. That's his house for 4 years between January of 2025 and January of 2029. That is his house. And if he wants to make an alteration to the house, he makes an alteration to the house. Any of you ever rented a house or an apartment, you can do whatever you want to it while you're on the lease and you're paying the rent, the only thing that the owner will say to you is, when you move out, whatever alterations you made, you got to change it back. So if the walls are white when you move in, and you want to paint all the walls blue for the term of your 12-month lease, when you move out, make sure you get those walls painted white again, because that's the way we gave it to you. So you got to leave it the way we gave it to you. But whatever alterations you want to make while you're here, do whatever you want. Just make sure it looks the same when you move out as it looked when you moved in. Now, the difference with Donald Trump is that this is not technically a lease. He's making a permanent change to the White House. But the change is happening because he's the president. Barack Obama added the basketball court. Did anybody remove it? He was president until 2016, early 17. Did anybody remove the basketball court? No. So once the change gets made, the change is made. This is the consequence, if you want to call it, of an election. Now, the scale here. This addition is 90,000 square feet, and it costs $250 million. This is an unprecedented addition to the White House. No one's ever made this type of addition / alteration to the White House of this magnitude in the history of the presidency. I say that's perfectly fitting for it being Donald Trump. What do y'all say? I say it's perfectly fitting. All right, he is in the modern era. He is the first president who was not a traditional politician, not a person who came up through politics. He came completely out of left field into doing this. So his entire presidency, his entire existence as president, his first term and his second term combined, all of this stuff is unprecedented. So the scale of this being bigger than anything any other president did, I think this fits perfectly with Donald Trump's brain. I think this is exactly what he wants it to be. So if he heard this and he heard somebody say, this is the biggest and most unprecedented change to the White House in the history of the presidency of the United States of America, I don't think Donald Trump would look at that as something he needs to defend against. I think he would look at that and say, exactly. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that compliment, Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin on The View. Y'all thought that was it. Y'all thought that was an insult? No, that's a compliment. Thank you. That's exactly what I meant it to be. So past renovations were more modest renovations, and he's doing something that's not modest. So this addition dwarfs other additions, and it more than doubles prior ballroom capacities, which we already talked about. Now, the East Wing location means that the First Lady's office and visitor centers are going to get modernized. So Melania gets a higher level office, I suppose. Or if Kamala wins in 2028, then that means Doug, the first, what do they call him? The first guy, the first gentleman, right? Is that what they call him? If the woman wins the presidency, then it'd be the first gentleman. So the first gentleman, Doug Emhoff, I guess he gets to have an updated office if Kamala wins in 2028. How would y'all feel about Doug having an updated office in 2029 if Kamala Harris wins the presidency in 2028? Or Gavin Newsom's wife, whatever her name is. I don't know who that is. Now, staff will be temporarily relocated while the construction occurs. I'm sure they'll have fine space that they can work in while this construction is taking place. I think everybody's going to be okay. Now, this lack of full donor transparency, i.e., we don't know exactly who gave all the money. I think they want to keep it private because people who gave money don't want to face backlash for giving money to Donald Trump, even though they gave money to Donald Trump. I think they should keep it that way. And the construction approvals, again, from who? Some say that this can start concerns about influence. I say, so what? Influence is part of how he won the election. So you're concerned about influence? Okay, be concerned. You should be concerned about influence because influence is going to determine who wins the next election. And influence is going to determine when this government shutdown ends, if it ever ends. Then influence will determine the 2026 elections. Elections are all about influence. Influence is all about getting people to feel like they know you, that they like you, and that they trust you. You get those three things, then you can influence people, and then things can move forward. So this lack of transparency in construction approvals, they say there are concerns about influence. I say, all right, be concerned. Donor names and oversight documents are unpublicized despite claims of private funding. So people are trying to say, well, they haven't put out the names of the people, so that must mean that this guy might be lying. That's a straw man argument. It's a Socratic trap statement because you're trying to trap the person into giving you the information that you want by trying to frame the lack of information as somehow being negative, which is, again, straw man argument. And they want these publicized because whoever is responsible for giving money to Donald Trump, wherever the money came from, if it comes from the people, then they'll say Donald Trump lied and he's stealing from the people. If it came from a donor, they're going to go find out who that donor is, and people are going to try to attack that donor and anything that donor is connected to because you're connected to Donald Trump and or because you're giving money to Donald Trump for this expansion of the White House when you should be doing something different with your money that will be more altruistic based on what again, this is this detractors talking. This is the kind of stuff that you hear people say when they hear some rich person did something. We talked about this several months ago. You remember when Jeff Bezos had his wedding? I don't remember where his wedding was. I believe it was in Italy. Maybe it was somewhere overseas. Somewhere in Europe, Jeff Bezos has a wedding. And people are saying, well, why is this guy spending all this money on weddings when there are people out there who can't afford groceries? Or Jeff Bezos spent $100 million on his wedding and he has employees who work for him who only make $40,000 a year. One is not connected to the other. That is a non sequitur. There is no connection between one fact and the other fact, even though it may sound like there is.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So whatever donor. So let's just say Jeff Bezos is one of the donors. All right, so Donald Trump collected $250 million. So let's say he got 50 from Jeff Bezos. He got 50 from Mark Zuckerberg. He got 50 from Elon Musk. He got 50 from, who else can give him $50 million? He got $50 million from Jay-Z. And he got another 50 million from who else? He got another 50 million from LeBron James. So let's say that's where he got his money from. That's how he got the 250 million. And people are going to say, well, these people, you're bad because now I'm associating your name with Trump. So they're going to try to put a stain on those people's names. That's why people are trying to blackmail the White House into sharing who those people are that donated the money. That's all they're trying to do here. It's not about transparency. It's about we want to find out who these people are so we can attack them, because that'll create another 24 hours worth of news cycle headlines for TDS holding detractors of Donald Trump and the counter arguments. People like me, I can come out with a counter argument for the nonsense that they may try to throw out about Donald Trump if that comes out. I don't know if those documents ever going to come out. Maybe in the next administration, maybe Kamala Harris, President Harris may put those documents out if she gets a hold of them in the next term in 2029. If you MAGA supporters get cocky and think that the Democrats can't win again, Kamala Harris will take care of that. And they say, despite claims of private funding. Well, if these funds came from the public, we would know about it because it would have to go through Congress. So that knocks down this argument. That's why this is a non sequitur bullshit argument.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Because if these funds, the $250 million to do this extension, came from the people's money, Congress would have to approve it. That's the way the system of checks and balances is designed. And Congress can't approve anything right now because they're shut down. And if Donald Trump had tried to go to Congress and say, hey, give me $250 million so I can do this expansion of the White House, maybe he would have been able to get it to go through, maybe, because he would have got all the Republicans to agree. And if they could have got a couple Democrats to agree, they may have been able to get the money. The issue is the bunch of people in Congress, Democrats, who really don't like Donald Trump, they would have made a ton of noise about this and gotten a week's worth of content out of bashing Donald Trump for coming to Congress and even asking for the money to do this expansion of the White House. And since you never heard that, the dog is not barking. That's because it never fucking happened. All right, that's how you know that this is not public funds. Donald Trump does not have access to the people's public funds. The president does not have access. The president must go through Congress. Congress has to agree. We never heard about it. And if Donald Trump, again, went to Congress asking for money to do anything, all his detractors would use whatever he asked as fuel and ammunition to say negative things about him. And they would have went to social media and they would have did segments on CNN and MSNBC and every other platform bashing him for asking money to do anything other than whatever his detractors thinks he should do with the money instead of what he was asking to do with the money. Everybody knows that this is true. So logically, none of this really stands up. Continuing. Donald Trump frames this as legacy work. So he says this is going to be part of his legacy, as I already explained, because by the time this ballroom is done, Donald Trump might not even be in office anymore. I don't know how long this is going to take. He says it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom in the country. Now, technically, it's just a room, and it looks like it's going to be maybe only one story, maybe 2 stories big, and maybe it'll be faster. So it's 2025 right now. Let's say this construction takes a year. Let's assume they have really good construction people. Let's say this takes a year. Donald Trump's done plenty of construction jobs. If they can get this done in a year, then I guess he'll get 2 years to enjoy it, and he can watch the results of the midterm elections from the ballroom in 2026. How soon y'all think this is going to be done? Give me a month and a year when you think this construction project will be completed. When will this be done? The ballroom addition to the East Wing of the White House. Give me a month and a year. When will this be completed? Will Donald Trump be able to watch the midterms from the ballroom? So R. Philly says 2 years. So that'd be late 27. So I got 2 years to watch it. BAN says 2 years. I'm looking for a month and a year. Nikki says December of this year. So you think they'll be done in a month? That's very ambitious, Nikki. They might have some, but they got some AI robots building it. T Wade says Bezos' money does equate to how much he pays his employees. His money is tied to his business. Now that's a straw man, T Wade, because that's not what I said.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I said how much Jeff Bezos spends personally on his wedding is not connected to how much money his employees make. Because how much you make as an employee is not based on how much money the owner has. It's about how much you agree to accept. Rebel Man said May 2027. Okay. So that'd be about a year and a half-ish, a little bit more. August 2028, says Davey. July 2026. May 2027. December 26. Maybe, I'm thinking maybe a year. I'm along the line of thinking you, but I don't know the construction world that well, so I could be way off on this. June 2027, 2 years, 6 months, 2 to 5 years for construction. June of 26, so you can use it for the 250th anniversary. Oh, that's a good point. Carla just brought up. The anniversary is in June of next year, so maybe they'll have it done before then. I don't know enough about construction and exactly what they're building. It might not be that hard. If they're building a ballroom, looking at the photos, let's just dig into this. Let's see more photos of this ballroom. Because if it's just a room, maybe it doesn't take as long. It's not like they're building a house. So it's just a room. If they're just building a ballroom, let's see. See if I can find a picture of the proposed ballroom. So the new White House ballroom, this was posted by the White House. They say for over 100 years, presidents have enhanced the White House, preserving its legacy as a symbol of our nation. Today, President Trump proudly broke ground on the new, big White House ballroom. Privately funded, it costs taxpayers nothing and will be cherished for generations. So let's see if we can find a photo of it. So this is what it's supposed to look like. This is a partial photo. There are others. I'll find more in a second. This is what the inside of the ballroom is supposed to look like. So the chairs and the tables are not part of the construction. So it looks like maybe just the ceiling might take some time if this is not made by, if it's not already made by a computer or something like that. This might not take that long to build. I mean, it's four walls. You got of course, you got to install the lighting. They got all these lights hanging, chandeliers, I guess. And then you have there's a window in the ceiling, a couple windows in the ceilings. This might not take that long to construct, actually. This might not be that as big of a project as it appears to be. It costs a lot of money, but it might not cost that. It might cost in time, that is. It may not cost that much for this to get done. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. But again, I know not enough about construction to really give you an estimate of how long this is going to take, but we'll see. I'm going to assume that Donald Trump wants to get this done and it'll be done while he's still in office. That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing he wants to still be in office so he can see this thing since he's the one getting it done. And he's the one who went and got the money. Diane says January of 27. Okay. John says May of 26. So many of you are really ambitious here. You're thinking he can get this done in less than a year. They might be able to get it done in less than a year. Again, any of you know anything about construction, you may know. Nikki said the goal is for it to be completed well before the end of his term. I would guess so. I would think so. So I don't think it's going to take that long. Maybe it'll be done by next year if they can celebrate the anniversary next year at this ballroom. I think that might be an aim of Donald Trump's. Because I'm sure he's probably want to have some big event there just for himself while he's still in the White House. So he only has till 2028. So John said it looks similar to the bathroom in his hotel in Miami. Which hotel was that? I've seen the Trump condos. I haven't seen there's a Trump hotel in Miami that I don't know about. Let me see. Maybe I don't know about the Trump hotel in Miami. I've seen the Trump golf course and I've seen the Trump. And I saw the Trump International Beach Resort. I think that's what you're referring to. The Trump International Beach Resort. That's the one in Sunny Isles. Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. Oh, I thought this was a condo. Okay, so you called that right, John Cart over there on Instagram. The Trump International Beach Resort is the one that I was talking about that I seen on Sunny Isles, 180th and Collins. Yeah, I drive past that all the time. $314 if you want to stay there tonight. You want to stay at the Trump International in Sunny Isles right now. But I've heard these places are very nice. I've never heard anybody say a Trump building didn't look good, but they got other criticisms. So anyway, Trump frames this as legacy work. He says it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom in the country. Now, that sounds like him, right? Now, he links this project to his real estate aesthetic and major event hosting ambitions. Now, he still has ambitions, 80 years old, still ambitious. So that's one positive thing you can say about Donald Trump, I guess, even if you're a detractor. And critics interpret this as misplaced priorities and symbolic of broader dismantling. I say this is a extreme reach that they're saying, oh, well, he's dismantling the White House the same way he's dismantling everything else. I understand that's TDS, and if you don't like Trump, then it sounds perfect, but this is some nonsense.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
If that's all people can come up with, they're running out of material. Now, opponents say focusing on luxury ballroom while governance issues loom evokes the tearing down America rhetoric. No, it doesn't evoke that rhetoric. What it does is give people come up with the idea to use that rhetoric and say, oh, well, he's tearing down the White House the same way he's tearing down America. A bunch of people were saying that on social media over the last couple of days when those pictures came out of the demolition of what used to be the East Wing is going to be the new East Wing. This is all play nonsense. All that said, everybody, let's get into the comments and let's see what we got over here. BS the Real on Rumble said I was in error on something. What I'm in error on? You didn't say what it was. So if you come in my comments, folks, and by the way, moderators, let the detractors live. We want to let the detractors breathe. But if you come in my comments and say that I'm wrong about something, you must say at the same time what I'm wrong about. Don't just say that I'm wrong. Just point out the part that was wrong. Point out the part that was wrong and give me the correction. Don't just say I'm wrong, then don't offer anything, because then you might be sounding a little bit TDS-y. You're just saying I'm wrong without actually offering the context, then I don't believe you. So looks like I froze on LinkedIn, but I'm not changing it. So John Clark said, yeah, Trump National Doral. Yes, I haven't seen the inside of that because I don't golf. So I haven't been inside I've seen the venue from the outside. The Trump National Doral I know about. I mentioned that earlier. But the one on Sunny Isles Beach, I thought that was a condo. It was actually a hotel. That was the part I was mistaken about. So that's what you got. That's what you got right there, John. Doral is his as well, but I mentioned that earlier. So let's get into the comments. And Lil J said he's lost. Who are you talking about, me or Donald Trump? R. Philly said, I have yet to hear anything you say critical of Donald Trump. Is he perfect in your eyes? Wow. Immediately, first comment.
Strawberry cheesecake.
R. Philly, let's see. So the first straw man is that you said, I've yet to hear you say anything critical of Donald Trump, as if saying something critical of Donald Trump is a requirement for here. Am I required to say something critical of him? Why do I have to say something critical about him? First of all, that's the first straw man. Secondly, you said, is he perfect in your eyes? That's a clear straw man. That's a Socratic trap. Is he perfect? You're asking me a binary question. This is a false binary question that you're asking here. And this sounds a little bit TDS-y by you. So I'm going to give you the
Emotional, damn it.
So R. Philly, you got the first emotional appeal to emotion claim here today. I'm going to put that on you. Then you got the double straw man. And because of that, you get the first Russell Westbrook triple-double logical fallacy award with the first comment of the day.
Oh, baby, a triple. Oh, yeah.
And this live here today, R. Philly, to answer the logic that I'm going to extract from your comment. There is no logic here, but I'm going to extract some logic that I made up from your comment. I didn't praise Donald Trump either. What did I say praising Donald Trump? Did I say anything praising Donald Trump today? All I did was contextualize what happened. And I said his detractors, his TDS holding detractors, are trying to find anything they can out of this story to make it sound negative when it's really a neutral story. I didn't say anything positive about him. I didn't say anything negative about him. So R. Philly, again, this is the reason why you got your
Strawberry cheesecake.
Strawberry cheesecake at 8:57 in the morning. Enjoy. KG said it won't take years. He's a builder, unlike Biden, who didn't manage to build anything back better. Yeah, so this is a good point, which is why I said what I said. He has a lot of experience in real estate, so he'll probably get this done much faster than most people would. Shannon said, don't give him another protest idea. Shannon, Trump detractors have more protest ideas than they have time to actually protest. They don't need ideas. They got plenty of ideas. Dr. Snuffle said, seriously, imagine still simping for Trump today. Here we go.
Emotional, damn it.
Simping. Marky Man said they can build a football stadium in 3 years. Yeah, well, this is much less than that. So I guess with a high-level builder like Trump, they probably get this done pretty quick. Ginger said the White House used to have a pool. Changes have been made before. Yeah, wonder what happened to the pool. Zink said, typical unemployed man. Who are you talking about? Technically, I am unemployed, actually. I don't have a job. I will never have a job again in my life. I'm an entrepreneur. A. Art Clark says, how about a basketball court or bowling alley being installed? That seems a little more self-indulgent. I would agree. Lil J said, so he needed approval. Technically, no. There is a question of if he needed approval or not. I don't think he needed approval. I don't think he needed any approval from who? Who's he need to get approval from? So people are questioning if he would need approval from certain organizations. I don't think he did. I think he just pushed this through and he got it done. D-Lin said they had to find something negative to say about Trump. This is true. But we enjoy it because this becomes content. So there's nothing wrong. We appreciate the detractors. They're necessary. Granny Catherine said, well, they pulled all the statues down that were historical. Yes, that's a very good point. People want to talk about altering historical landmarks. That happened a lot in 2020. Jessica said he actually can't stand Democrats. Who is he? Rick Thomas says his money, his time is old and may need updating. This is all true. Reverend Pearl said it's an upgrade. I would agree it's an upgrade. None of his detractors even said it's not an upgrade. They just found other things to criticize about it. This is how you know that they're deranged. Dr. Snuffle said history will not be kind to Donald Trump and the gullible who enabled his debacle. This is an appeal to emotion.
Emotional, damn it.
Anytime somebody tries to use history as the frame when they're talking about something happening in the present and they say, well, hey, you want to be on the right side of history, so that means you should agree with me. All right, that is some bullshit appeal to emotion. They're trying to basically emotionally blackmail you into agreeing with them because what they're warning you is if you don't agree with me, then historically, 100 years from now, people are going to look at you negatively because you had the wrong opinion today because they're framing it as if their opinion must be right, your opinion must be wrong. This is nonsense.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Zinc Services says you've never worked before. Are you talking to me?
Is that like a personal attack or something?
Well, Zinc Services.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
This is this kind of a straw man, but I'll give you this doesn't even make sense. You don't need to get a straw man. At least a straw man, I can see somebody trying to make sense, but they fail. You're not even trying to make sense. So
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Okay.
Zinc Services, I would bet, there's no way of knowing this because we don't know who you are, but I would bet I've had more jobs than you have. I would bet that. Now, I don't know you personally, so there's no way of proving it because you could lie in the comments, but I'll probably have more jobs than you have. So for you to say I've never worked before is ridiculous. My company is literally called Work on Your Game. Northern and Pearl said, I applaud Trump for trying to beautify our White House. Yes, maybe we'll get invited to the ballroom. Maybe I'll reach out to Donald Trump if I ever get a connection to him and ask him, hey, let me do a live of one of these. And I'll do it from the ballroom. And then I can invite all of you who are watching there because they say it can hold 999 people. So right now, according to TikTok, it's 225 people watching this live stream. So we got plenty of room. So each one of you could bring a friend. And each one of you could bring 3 friends. And we would not exceed the capacity of that new ballroom. So any of you get in touch with Donald Trump, tell him about that idea. Let Dre Baldwin do his live stream from the ballroom. And it can be live because all y'all can be in there. Even the detractors, even those of y'all disagreeing with me, y'all can be in there too. And we can take comments live on the spot. I think that's a great idea. Jeep Guy said the only thing they have is hate. Trump, nothing else. For right now, that is where they're at. Party Mama says, it's so funny watching people justify things that are completely out of the norm. Well, what do you mean by that, Party Mama? I need more context. Justifying things that are out of the norm, that's a very broad comment. So I need to know what you're referring to. Wifey Tip said, I think it's wonderful what he's doing to the ballroom. Well, he's creating a ballroom. There was no ballroom. Deesner, thanks for the share. Nana Cat, good morning. Desiner, thanks for the share. Leah said, Whoopi Goldberg is ignorant. I understand what you mean, Leah. I don't think Whoopi Goldberg's ignorant. Ignorant technically means to not know something. I think Whoopi Goldberg is actually pretty smart. I think all these people you see on TV, especially the influencers and the TV people, the media folks, I think they're actually very smart, but they have a role to play. When you work in that line, when you're in that line of work, you got certain things you have to say and do in order to keep your job. I don't think Whoopi Goldberg is as, I know some of you may listen to things that she says and think that she's just not that smart of a person. I don't think so. I think she's actually pretty smart. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she understands that she has to play a certain role on TV because it helps her career, it helps her brand, it helps keep the show going, and she's the star of that show. She's the main host of that show. So whatever amount of money she's getting for doing that show, if she stops doing that, then the money goes away. And Whoopi Goldberg has bills just like you and I got bills. So I don't think many of these media TDS holding people are as dumb as they sound. I think they're playing a role for TV. All right, remember, it's TV, folks. So let's remember, TV is still TV. When you're on TV, a lot of times you're acting. So don't think that what you see what people doing on TV is how they really are off camera. I think if you had a conversation with Whoopi Goldberg off camera, she would not be nearly as deranged as she seems. Just my theory. Tina, good morning. Edward Green, thanks for the share. Let Him Cook said, tell them weak-ass Democrats to sign the clean CR bill and let's open up the government. All right, so let him cook. I just said it. Ashley So Shy said, you clearly didn't pay attention in civics.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
So this is another example. So when people do this, they get the...
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
These comments are what we call Socratic trap. So Socratic trap is when Socratic trap technically is a question, but I'm extending the explanation of what it means here or what it can mean. Socratic trap is when someone makes a statement that is designed to pull a response out of you, but you're not giving enough context here. So if you disagree with what I'm saying, Ashley So Shy, then say exactly what I got wrong. You didn't say. All you said was you clearly didn't pay attention to civics. What does that mean? What did I get wrong? What did I miss? What am I factually incorrect about? You didn't offer. So I'm assuming you don't really have anything here. This is just your TDS leaking out of you. It's like grease leaking out of your pores.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Cure Fan SC says historic homes in Connecticut have to go through town approval to be renovated. Fair enough. Samuel said, did Obama put the tennis court back? I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I don't play tennis. Ashley said, leave it as it is. Why? What's your argument? Rick Thomas says, if I rented a house, I'd be overjoyed if the tenant did a $250 million upgrade. Well, Rick, it depends on what kind of upgrade, Rick. We got to be fair here. It depends on what they do. They might make an upgrade that actually lowers the value of your house. But directionally, I get what you're saying. I would instead, Rick, no, I would tell them, just give me the money. Give me the cash. Maybe I can get it done for $200 million and I'll keep the 50. Sam L said, why did Nixon put a bowling alley in? I don't know. I never talked to Richard Nixon to ask him, but I would guess because he wanted to. I think that's a good enough reason. DJ Max said, FDR put the West Wing on the White House. Fair enough. Elsa said, I would not expect anything less. What are you referring to? I don't know what you were responding to. Rick Vaughn, thanks for the follow. Irma V, good morning. Niece61 said, taxpayers not paying for it, I don't see the issue. Well, the issue is that it's Donald Trump. So that's a good enough reason for there to be an issue. Wifey Tip said, didn't Kamala or Pence just make changes to the VIP living quarters? I don't know. But if they did, it was such a small thing that nobody cared and made a story about it because it wasn't Donald Trump. We all know the frame here. The frame is that Donald Trump did it. So anything that other presidents did is not going to be nearly equal in the value of what people place on it simply because it wasn't Donald Trump. Lisa said, so fact, he is not touching the original part of the White House. Okay. Tired of it, 12 said, he has seen better homes around the world for leaders. He wants ours to be just as good or better. Okay, fair enough. Karen Marzoni said, that's Trump. Go my president. All right. Darla, Mom, and CNA, thank you for the heart. Jimmy Jones, thanks for the share. Rob Allen said, great observations. Thank you. XTR said, Dems lost their minds when he added a couple flagpoles. Well, they lost their minds when he got involved in politics, period. And anything he does after that, they just continue to lose their minds. Anastasia, thanks for the lightning bolt. Nana Cat said they'll never be happy. Well, they won't be happy with anything Donald Trump does. That part is true. Leah said he could do nothing to the White House and people will complain. This is also true. Rob Allen said Trump is the first billionaire president before he became president. This is true. Rick Thomas said his money, his business, not my circus. Okay. Joel 67 said he's improving the White House for future presidents and dignitaries. That is true. The White House is going to be better because, again, you went from a 200 capacity space to a 1,000-person capacity space. I think that's an upgrade and better for everybody. And the future presidents will get to use it. Stay true to you, 1990. Thanks for the follow. The fact checker said, are you serious? So again, yes, I'm serious. Whatever I said, well, actually, I don't know. Maybe I might have been joking. But what are you referring to, the fact checker? You asked the question, but I don't know what you're responding to. Nanny Cat said, big, beautiful ballroom. Yes. Leah said, I love the idea. It would be absolutely beautiful. Niece 61 said, California tax dollars missing with the Newsom's multi-million home he just bought. I cannot confirm nor deny that. T-Way already responded to that one. Carolyn Rudder said he will watch the midterms in a new ballroom. Yeah, they got to get done quick for that. We'll see. It doesn't look like it's going to take that much time. I mean, it's just a room. Kenya says 2 to 5 years. I doubt this takes 5 years. I think this is going to be done, I say no more than 2 years. Trump's a construction guy. He's a real estate guy. So I think he knows how to find people. He knows how to press the project managers and get that shit done. So I don't think this will be done before he gets out of office, guaranteed. And some are saying even by less than a year. That'd be great if they do it within less than a year. So then people can bash it and we can talk about it again. So Nanny Cat said in time for that 250. Yeah, same thing Carlos said. Marky Mark said if Donald Trump could walk across water like Christ, Democrats would say he can't swim. This is true. They would say that. Maddie said the construction workers over in Pennsylvania will be 5 years, maybe. Well, I don't know if it's the people that Donald Trump hires. Donald Trump probably knows the best construction people he can get. So Davey Gravy says it says 3 to 4 years. Okay. Then that'd be a nice thing of Trump because he won't even be around to enjoy it. Let's see if we can find out how long this project's supposed to take. We're going to consult Grok on this one. How long is it supposed to take for the construction of this new big, beautiful ballroom that Donald Trump is adding to the east wing of the White House? Let's see what they come up with. Tara said, homes go up pretty quickly, so the ballroom may take 6 months. All right, so Grok actually is pretty quick on this one. They said construction on this ballroom began in September. I don't know why. Oh, the demolition just started in October. So that's the pictures we saw was the demolition. 90,000 square foot. We talked about that. 1,000 guests. Gold chandeliers, marble floors, Corinthian columns, bulletproof glass walls. So just the quality of that stuff may make it take longer. They said that the ballroom will be completed before the end of Trump's second term in January of 2029. So before the end of his term. So the total timeline is 3 years and 4 months from groundbreaking. Okay, so this is actually going to take a pretty good amount of time. So earlier announcements reference potential 18 to 24 months, but official projections now say 2029 to account for the project scale, regulatory hurdles. So that NCPC, National Capital Planning Commission, they have to approve some things, I guess still, and integration with the historic structure. So the ambitious pace draws comparisons to past White House expansions. All right, Teddy Roosevelt adding the West Wing, which took 2 years, and Harry Truman doing the interior build, which took 4 years. So some say that this ballroom has the size and complexity could actually make it take longer. So I think we were all a little bit too ambitious. Our eyes are bigger than our stomachs. This is going to take some time. So that's what we found out. So a bunch of you are saying within a year. I thought maybe it wouldn't take that long, but given the quality of stuff they're putting in there and being it is the White House, the security stuff and all that, it's going to take a little bit longer. So they say 3 to 4 years here. So maybe Trump will get to see it right before he moves out. So maybe he'll have a going away party. That's, I think, what Trump's aiming for. Have a going away party in the White House after the 2028 election to celebrate himself and his time in the White House before he has to go. unless he decides to crown himself king and never leave the White House. Of course, we got to throw that in there. Ye said, but that kind of money will be done early next year. Donna said 9 months. They already had the foundation of some of the structure. Marky Mark said Trump's construction never takes that long, which suggests 8 or 9 months. Well, we'll see. Let's see what ends up happening here. Our Philly said a lot of marble to cut, which is what I just pointed out. So, yeah, the marble cutting. And again, I don't know enough about construction to know, but I guess cutting marble and building a floor like that is not as easy or simple as it looks. Nikki said the goal is to be completed before the end of his term. Yes, so that gives him 3 years. Davy Gravy said marble project alone will take a long time. So a bunch of you are saying that. Christy said, is Trump, he has more interested in leaving his mark rather than using it. Stephen Albert says, well, you got to remember all depends on the finishes, right? Being a carpenter who can't take up a year. Well, according to what I read about the finishes, this is going to be some high quality stuff and is in the White House. And it costs $250 million. So where's that money got to be on to something? I mean, it's not just building a room. You build a room for a lot less than that. But the quality of the stuff, the columns, the chandeliers, the marble floor, that stuff takes time, according to what I'm reading here. K-Man said it could probably be the MMA event next year. The MMA event is probably going to be outside. My cup of tea said, oh my God, not another one. What are you referring to? Rudiger Type said, good morning, sir. Why is everyone so worried about how much he is spending on the White House? Well, it's not about how much he's spending on the White House. The thing that gets everybody excited is the fact that he did anything. Anything Donald Trump does gets attention. That's the reason why we're talking about it. Chris said he is not the only president to add to the White House. Obama built the basketball court. Yes, that was mentioned. Catching up to where I was in the comments. I lost my spot here. When I lose my spot, that means there's so many comments coming through that TikTok automatically refreshes the page. It actually is a good thing. That means y'all are engaging. So anytime I lose my spot, that's good. Ye said multiple presidents have done construction. Yes. Chris says privately funded. Yes, we talked about that. Anne Marie says congressional approval needed. No. As if it was, this would have been a bigger story. Chris said TDR put a second floor on the right wing of the White House. Rudiger said, are you a politician or a lawyer? I am neither one. I just play one on TikTok. I play both on TikTok. CVSE says, because he is not perfect, be fair in your assessments. Okay, here's a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
I didn't use the word perfect. The commentator used the word perfect. So you don't have to tell me that he is not perfect. I know every human being has flaws. And anything done by human beings is going to have flaws simply because humans are imperfect. And then you said, be fair in your assessments. Or who determines what's fair, me or you? I would think that would be me because I'm the one running this live stream.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Being fair in the assessment does not mean that I had to offer an equal amount of criticism as I offer praise and or defense of something that somebody else does, or an equal amount of praise as I offer criticism. So when I bash the Democrats for having TDS, I don't need to offer them an equal amount of praise to balance out the bashing. Because if you are doing something that's worthy of bashing, then 90% of what I say may be bashing. Why? Because that's the way that I see it, and I'm the one who makes the rules around here.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So CVSE, congratulations. You get the second Russell Westbrook triple-double award of the day. Rick Thomas says something below ground may have to be done that needs to remain secret for safety purposes. Yes, that's also true. Rudiger said, no politician is honest in my opinion, either party. Yes, we have established that over here, Rudiger. I don't know if it's your first time in this live, but that has been established, that politicians are not to be trusted or depended on. James Carter said, a breath of fresh air. I hope you're talking about me. Thank you. Popular P said, the mainstream media still have the power to push the narrative. The left mandate them to. Why? Well, because a lot of people who actually run those companies and work there they're leftists. They're Democrats. So they want to do it. Daniel said, TDS is alive and well. That is true. T said, anybody who doesn't entirely agree with the woke left, they call them simping for Trump. Yes, this is true. People use that as an appeal to emotion or an appeal to ridicule to try to make it sound like something's wrong with you because you're not bashing Trump the way they would bash Trump, which is a nonsense frame, but this is what people do. Again, this is derangement syndrome. I would understand if some 8-year-old said that, but there are grown men and women who do this. Elsa, thanks for the rose. Yvette Hunt said, what is your community outreach experience? I don't understand where that question is coming from. What are you talking about? Please give me context, Yvette. User 92 said, TDS is real and pretty sad for those who have it. Well, those who have it, I think, are happy to have it. Nana said, Obama didn't get approval for a basketball court. Look, listen, the president got elected. So whatever he had to do, he probably could just push it through. I'm sure he couldn't just wake up one day, decide to do it, and snap his fingers and it's done. There are certain things you have to go through to get it done, but he doesn't need, there's nobody who can say, no, you can't do it. Same thing, Obama, same thing with Trump. There's nobody who can just say, no, you can't. If you got the money, you can get it done. Rick Thomas said, I bet Barron Trump used the basketball court. Maybe. Can he play basketball? I'm not sure. He don't look like a basketball player to me. Yes, I know he's tall, but I played basketballs. I can tell you a basketball player just by looking at him walk. Barron doesn't have the fluidity of a basketball player. He's tall like one, but that's where the similarities end. So I don't think he's played any basketball. TX Trump Babe, good morning. D-Boy said, these historical artifacts were racist. Somebody just pointed it out. Those historical artifacts were racist. How can an artifact be racist? Artifacts are just artifacts. They're not racist. Now, the story behind an artifact, you may decide that the story is racist or whatever led to it is racist. You may even think that the person or whoever created that artifact was racist, but an artifact itself is not racist. So your argument is a false one on that point.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And even if a historical artifact, let's just say a statue of Robert E. Lee. Let's use that. Robert E. Lee statue. People say, well, the Robert E. Lee statue is racist. Well, a statue is not racist. A statue is just a statue. Even if you think Robert E. Lee himself was a racist, based on the stories that you heard, that does not mean, this is the frame that I use here, because it's called history. The purpose of history is to tell us what happened. The purpose of history is not to tell you what happened in a way that makes you feel good. The purpose of history is to tell you what happened, period. If you don't feel good about it, tough shit. If that's what happened, that's what happened. So if Robert E. Lee, if you believe Robert E. Lee or George Washington or Thomas Jefferson or whoever, you believe that person was a racist, okay, you're allowed to believe that. That doesn't mean that the historical artifact should be removed just because they did or represented something that you found to be negative, because that negativity is part of the history. All of history in America is not all positive, is not all negative. It just is. History is not positive or negative. It just is. And people decide to frame it as positive or negative. So to say that something should be removed or shouldn't exist just because it was how you frame it as negative is a nonsense point, because again, it's not about how you feel about it. It's about, did this happen? Yes or no? If it happened, then that means we need to know about it, because that's what history is defined as.
Emotional, damn it.
History does not mean you like it or that you agree with it or that you feel good about it. It just means it happened. Nana Cat said, a lot of emotionally damaged liberals in the chat. Yeah, so perfect timing. Irma V, congrats on the gifter badge. Thank you for the I Love TikTok badge. TX Trump said, I'm going to take Nana. Oh, I think, she would already be invited. So you got to bring somebody who's not here. So each one of you can bring 3 people. My Young, thanks for the follow. Elsa said, I want to go. Well, you would be invited. All of you who are in here would be invited. And you got to bring 3 people who are not in here, because we got about 200 or so. So if each one of you bought 3, we still be under capacity. And that's enough room for Trump and his team to also come in there, because I guess they would want to see it too. Popular P says, some people have the Kamala mentality. Drink and use word salads. All right, a lot of you being accusing Kamala of drinking. Now, how much does Kamala drink? I don't know how much Kamala drinks, but a lot of you seem to be making that joke that she drinks. Murphy the Mutt said, I'll be to your live in the ballroom. I'll bring my wife. All right, you got to bring 2 more people. You got 2 more tickets. You can sell them if you want. Stay True said, what is your tube so I can watch it at work? LOL. Is the links in my profile? Stay True. My YouTube is at Dre All Day. So I'm recording on YouTube right now. So I'm live on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm just looking at TikTok right now because I'm reading the comments. And most of the comments are usually from TikTok. But I'm live on all these platforms at the same time right now. Mark said, no more tent rental will save money. Yeah, well, if you're playing around with millions, I don't think the tent rental is that big of a deal. Fishing Fan says she knows she's on the other side. RMS Studio says, so sad that so many are more concerned about what doesn't affect their life than their own. Well, this is how politics works. TX Trump Babe said, no amount of money will make me act like Whoopi. Well, TX Trump Babe, you ain't seen the money yet. You might have not have been offered the money yet. Let me say it that way. They ain't offer you the money yet. They offer you the money, you might change your mind about that. Lisa Burns said, "I cannot stand The View." Well, every once in a while, you should listen to what they're saying so you understand what's going on. You want to know what's going on because The View is a very popular show for people, for females who really don't like Donald Trump, because that's what they do every day, right? They talk about how they don't like Donald Trump or they don't like the political right. So even if you don't like what they do, you should every once in a while at least catch a clip or two. I don't watch The View, but if I see a clip of somebody on The View says something crazy, I will listen to the clip and hear what got said, because that is informing you, Lisa, of what people on the other side of the conversation are saying, which you should be aware of, because that will help you understand when you run into a person in real life who is mimicking what they say. Now you understand where they got it from and how they can justify it. So there's a professional speaker, great sales trainer back in the day by the name, motivational speaker, I guess he was also known as, by the name of Zig Ziglar. Some of you know about Zig. And he said, every day I like to read a little bit of the Bible and a little bit of the newspaper, just so I know what both sides are up to. And it's a great little funny anecdote, because that's exactly what you got to do. You got to pay attention to what the other side is saying, even if you're not on that side, so you understand why they're saying what they're saying. So I try to listen to a little bit of everybody. Even on X, I follow a bunch of people who I generally disagree with their frames, people who I think are race hustlers. I think they have no substance. I'll follow them anyway because I want to know what they're saying, because a bunch of people who believe them and agree with them. So when I hear somebody say something crazy in everyday life, I'm wondering, where the hell did you get that dumb idea? But if I'm following these people, then I know where they got the idea. They're getting it from these people. So you still want to pay attention. Henry says, selling their soul. I don't think they see it as that. I think Whoopi Goldberg is a leftist. I think she is a Democrat. I think she's a liberal. And I think she hyperbolizes her liberalism for TV. Any of you know anything about the TV world, they say that your energy has to be like 10 times higher on camera than your normal energy is off camera in order for it to come across as normal on camera. So the way I'm talking right now, I'm technically on camera, but I'm not on TV. So what they say is, according to the theory, is that if I got on TV, my energy had to be 10 times higher like this on camera for it to come across as normal. That's what they say. I don't think it's that much, but I get the idea. I think Whoopi hyperbolizes her position for TV. Why? Because that keeps the audience engaged, and keeping the audience engaged is how they keep making money. And if the show is making money, then Whoopi makes money. And again, Whoopi Goldberg has bills the same way you have bills. I understand. I don't agree, but I understand. That's just the business. Nana Cat said The View is part of the indoctrination. Exactly. Which is why Whoopi got to keep doing what she's doing so that she can keep indoctrinating. And she keeps indoctrinating people. They keep watching. They keep watching. Then the ratings are high. The ratings are high. You can charge advertisers. You charge advertisers. The advertisers pay. The advertisers pay. You get paid. That's the game. So I respect the game, folks. I got to respect the game. You may not like what people are doing in the game, but you got to respect the game. Jaslyn Carter, good morning. Carolyn said, Whoopi thought Dr. Jill Biden should have been the Surgeon General. Well, I don't know. I don't know if she really meant that, or she was just playing, or she was just, again, her TDS was talking. But again, this is all part of the game. D. Lynn said, I like will be in the color purple. Do not like who she is acting like now. Who? Who are you talking about? D-Boy said, how come all truth about Trump is DTS? I think you meant TDS. Well, what are you calling truth? What part are you calling truth? Because what we're talking about here today is not an argument of facts and non-facts. What we're talking about here today is really framing. So, D-Boy, this is not an argument of facts and not facts, or truth and non-truth. Argument here today is about framing. And that's often what I talk about when I'm doing these live streams. I don't always explain it as framing, but that's what this is. We take a factual situation, i.e., Trump is doing an extension to the White House. We know that's happening. All right, that's a fact. Everything else I talked about here today is about a frame. So some people are framing it as, why is he doing this instead of doing that? That's a frame. That's not a truth, non-truth. That's not a fact or not fact. It's just a frame. Or they say, well, nobody else did it extension to the White House the way that Trump did. That's true. I agree with that truth. And again, the frame is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this okay? Is it not okay? Is it a story? Is it not a story? So the arguments that I'm usually discussing here and breaking down are not about a fact versus a non-fact. Because if that's all it was, there's no way I'll be able to fill an hour or two every day just talking about a fact or non-fact. Because ChatGPT could do that way faster than I can. This is all about arguing the frame. Here's what people are saying, and here's the argument behind what they're saying. Here's what other people are saying. Here's the argument behind what they say, and then I tell you what I think. So that's really what I'm doing here. This is a framing conversation more than it is a truth or fact conversation. So D-Boy, your question is actually a straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
So congratulations on the award. And I answered the question that you should have been asking. Now, hopefully you learned something from that. Christy Curio said, put me on your invite list for the ball. All of you who's in here will be on the invite list. All right. Fishing Fan said, what is your education or are you self-taught? You're a quick, smart thinker. Well, thank you, Fishing Fan. I appreciate the compliment. I'm going to slightly push back on your frame here. So here's the frame again. Now, I am technically, quote unquote, educated. I have a 4-year degree with a focus in business. No, 4-year degree in business with a focus in management and marketing from Penn State University. So that's my education, if that's what you're asking. But I give zero credit to Penn State University for what you are hearing here today. I didn't learn any of this in college. I learned this just from being a reader, a writer, and communicating a lot. So I've been creating content online for literally 2 decades, not always this kind of stuff. My background is as a professional athlete, so I used to make a whole bunch of content for athletes. Then I started making content based around mindset and entrepreneurship. And in the last year or so, I've been talking about current events, which is what you're seeing right now. So this is just an extension of my most important skill, which is my communication skill. And the main thing that we teach over here at my company is what we call the power presence, which is command of the room, being able to communicate without saying a word so that your sales, your influence, your persuasion all lands for you before you even start talking. The manual for it is this book you see right here called The Power Presence Protocol. You learn more about that at the link in my profile. So Fishing Fan, I agree and appreciate the compliment that I'm a quick, smart thinker, but that did not come from school. You can't learn this at school. You can learn it in my school, Work on Your Game University. You can't learn it at traditional school like Penn State. Shout out to Penn State, but I did not learn this at school. CC said a lot of people don't like it simply because Donald Trump is the one doing it. Exactly. Yes. Now, CC, you see, if I didn't want to do all this explanation, I could just post this every day, and that would explain every current event story that surrounds Donald Trump. People don't like it because Donald Trump did it. Done. All right. That whole, I wouldn't be doing these lives for 2 hours. It would take you 10 seconds to read it, and you would understand the story. But instead, I like to break it down. So I like doing this. I like breaking things down. Echo says, doesn't matter who does what unless your name is Trump. Again, there you go. Rocket Top, who's paying for it? It is private donors paying for it. It's not government money, because if it was from the people, it would have to go through Congress. Steven said, jump at the ballroom makes him a king. Just one more thing, make a king. I don't know. Having a ballroom doesn't make you a king. I mean, he is democratically elected, Steven. What do you mean? HJYU says, someone needs to open a TDS treatment center. Well, that would be funny, but the problem is nobody's going to go. Who's going to go into a TDS treatment center? Because to go into a TDS treatment center, you got to admit that you have TDS. Now, who's going to admit that they have it? See, that's the part you haven't thought about. So if you open an Alcoholics Anonymous, you got to get some alcoholics that admit that they're alcoholics to show up. And often they got to get somebody to make them go. Now, who has TDS is going to have somebody make them go to a TDS treatment center. I don't think anybody's going to show up. I think that would be a failed business. Nana Cat said, Trump could say oxygen is good and Democrats put a bag over their head. Yes, that's true. CC said, when it's finished, I'm sure it will be beautiful. People will love it. I would think so. As much money as they're spending, it better be beautiful. I've never heard anybody say that one of Trump's buildings didn't look good. Again, he got a lot of buildings. I've never heard anybody say it didn't look good. People complain about everything else. They never complain about the aesthetics. Stephen Albert, thanks for the Go Popular. Miss Kim Bates, good morning. Leah said, I think Carla is right for the anniversary. Well, we'll see. What I'm seeing is 3 to 4 years. So that's a big gap. So we'll see. Jennifer Cragen, thanks for the follow. Audrey Allen said, first president to donate his salary to charity can't be bought or sold. Well, Audrey, that's a little bit of non sequitur in there. I get what you're saying, but a lot of people are saying, well, listen, the amount of salary that you get as president is like $400,000 to $500,000. The amount of money that Donald Trump's playing around with is in the tens and hundreds of millions. So giving up $400,000 to $500,000 to look altruistic is nothing if you can make another 10, 50, 100 million on the back end. So Audrey, I get what you're trying to say here, but I would have to push back on that frame. Charles said, America's birthday will be done. So a lot of you are very ambitious construction people. Steven said, as a carpenter, I'm telling you that ballroom will be done no later than December of next year. Okay. So a bunch of you putting your names on the line here that this ballroom is going to be done by the end of 2026. We'll see. What I just read is it said 3 to 4 years. And they said with the marble flooring and the ceiling design and all those chandeliers and the size of it, that this could take longer than it looks. Linda said, can you actually say what you feel as a podcast, or do you have to dance too? I don't consider this a podcast. I just call this a live stream. I have an actual podcast. It is called Work on Your Game. I call mine a masterclass. It comes out every day. It's about 20, 30 minutes per episode. It's not as long as this. I don't consider this a podcast, but nowadays everybody calls everything a podcast. But my actual podcast is called Work on Your Game. It comes on Apple and Spotify every day. It's about 20 to 30 minutes per episode. So if any of you want something that's more bite-sized, y'all can get that here. I'll show it to you what it looks like. It looks like this. So if you look for the artwork in my podcast, there's me right there. I don't think you would mistake me. It's called Work on Your Game. It comes out every day. On October 19th, 3 days ago, I'll listen back to my own episodes just to make sure it sounds right. This is episode number 3,445. So this show comes out every day, and this is the 3,445th straight day. Then 46, 47. So today is episode 3,448. This topic was entrepreneur myths. So on this show, we talk personal professional development. So those of you who like the personal professional development stuff, that's what I talk about here on my podcast. On these that I'm talking to you all right now, we talk current events. So the question from Linda is, can you actually say what you feel? Yeah, I can say whatever I want. I have no bosses. I answer to nobody. So anything I tell you, I'm telling you what I actually think. And if I am censoring myself for whatever reason, I'll tell you that too. So there are some things that I don't say specifically on TikTok, because TikTok has very sensitive trigger warnings for certain things that you might say. So I've learned my lesson. I've been suspended on TikTok like 16 times in the last year. There are certain people whose names I can't say. There are certain things that I can't say in a certain way. So I know what not to say on here. And if I'm ever talking around something because I can't say it, I will tell you all that I'm talking around it. Marlene, but today I'm not talking around anything. Marlene Lisa said that he does not pay. If I'm one of those, he never paid Atlantic City $7 million. What are you referring to? Steph Funny said, I heard that building was only built to cover an underground bunker. Not sure of the truth on that. They mentioned it. It was mentioned in the notes that I brought up here today. Tara Mills said, oh my God, wow. What are you referring to? Crisis King says, does Trump run for a third term? No, he's not running for a third term. Carolyn said, Trump got the 85 highway collapse in Atlanta completed in recorded time. He knows how to motivate. Okay, maybe that's why it happened. OG McCoy said, who's paying for it? Private donors have paid for the ballroom. He got donations privately from who knows who. They haven't announced who gave him the money. But we know that if the money came from the people, it would have to go through Congress. And since it didn't go through Congress, we know that it's not public funds. That we can factually state. Echoes say 2.5 years is Trump. Okay, so we got some in the middle. Jeremy Gill, thanks for joining the fan club. Stephen Albert said that would be the only holdup would be materials was my first comment. Fair enough. Kim said Trump forever. All right, I got refreshing my comments here. TX Trump Babe said the ballroom's going to be beautiful. We'll see. Creek Boy said Trump will finish quicker than projected, then he will tell us about it. Okay, that I can see happening. Yes. Christopher said for some reason he thinks he's going to run again in 28. I don't think he thinks that. Trump is not running again in 2028. Trump will not run again. K-Man Florida said they will have a ball and a fight. Great stuff. Well, I think the fight's going to be outside. Miles Adamick said you have an informative and entertaining platform. Well, thank you. 100,000 likes here today. Yes, thank you everybody for getting the likes up. Christopher said he don't play basketball. Yeah, I don't think he plays basketball. I told you I can look at somebody and tell if they can play basketball or not. Barron Trump does not play basketball. TX Trump base said racist artifacts. LOL. Yeah, a lot of people frame it that way. Steph said erase history and it will repeat itself. Well, you can't erase history. History is just what happened. History is a story, so you can't erase a story. Now, you can erase or delete or remove or destroy the thing that represents the story, i.e. a statue or a book, but the fact that it happened is not erased. Now, if people don't know about it, then that's just people not knowing stuff. But you can't erase a story. As long as somebody can pass it down, the story's still there. Rick said, works of art should be left alone. Well, some say. Steven, no, I played overseas. I played in 8 different countries internationally, so you would not have seen me on TV. Can we meet the live goal, Leah? Yes, can we meet the live goal? TX Trump Babe said, I don't like people, so I only have like one friend. Well, you take your extra tickets and you sell them, and then use the money as you wish. Leather and Pearl said, I'm calling first dance in the big, beautiful ballroom. Yeah, I guess they had to move the chairs out the way then. We had to figure out the logistics. TX Trump Babe said, Kamala drinks as much as Nancy does. How much does Nancy drink? Excuse me. Nancy drinks? I didn't know. Once upon a timeline said, people don't know history. Lincoln offered Robert E. Lee a position. I'm just using him as an example. Stephen Albert, thank you for the lightning bolts. 251 of them. Tim said, lots of NGOs go away December 3rd. The government stays closed, which is a good thing. Think it'll last that long? I hope not. I hope it doesn't last that long. I know some people who work in the government, and they will stop getting their checks if it keeps going. Rick said, you must know all you can about your opponent. Knowledge is power. This is true. Millie said, yesterday on The View, they were singing You Don't Own It towards DJT. Yeah, I played that clip earlier, Millie. You might not have been in here. I played the clip at the beginning of this live. Millie said they sounded stupid. Yeah, well, this is the part of the show. You got to understand they have a live studio audience who enjoy that stuff. So y'all got to keep all this stuff in mind. For everything that any of you don't like, there's a bunch of people who love it. 003 Samson, thanks for the share. Factory Rat, thanks for the follow. Ryan, thanks for the follow. Donna K said, framing on both sides. Yes. All this is about framing. It's not about facts. Facts don't matter, ladies and gentlemen. Facts do not matter. Sally says, so many presidents have added to the White House. One former president even gutted it completely. TX Trump said, what are your thoughts on Bannon's indictments? I have not looked into them yet, so I can't give you any answers on that. Did that recently happen? He got indicted? Steve Bannon, again? Factory Rat said, does the audience know the White House renovations are being paid for by private donations? People have been asking. I talked about that. That's what we've been talking about the whole day. Mermaid Marilyn said, why are so many protesters baby boomers and older? Because they don't have anything else to do. They ain't got no job. So they ain't got nothing to do but protest. Gives them something to do. So that's why. That's my theory. Christy, thank you for the heart and the go popular. Caffeinated Mom, thanks for the follow. Steven said they say because he's getting the okay to build the ballroom, so the left says these things kingish. Yeah, I mean, it's a nonsense frame, but since so many people already don't like Trump, they'll believe any negative thing they hear about him. That's pretty much where we're at. Christopher said, no way is done by the end of 26. I'll bet chandeliers are most things like that is custom made. Okay, so we got a lot of arguments here and a lot of different directions on how long this project is going to take. The official word is 3 to 4 years. Now, some of you have said next year. Some of you even said guaranteed by next year. And now many of you are saying no way it can be done by next year. So we got a live bet going on here over the next 3 to 4 years how long this ballroom takes. Cure Fan SC said that's a lot of episodes. Yes, it is a lot of episodes. But when you do it every day, it becomes a habit. So 3,000 plus episodes, work on your game, masterclass. Y'all may call that a podcast. Cheryl Smalley, thanks for the share. Christopher said they're custom made. Yeah, I would bet they are custom made. You're probably right. Googleplex said The View is a comedian and a blabbermouth. Well, and they got fans. 003 said, I missed your podcast yesterday. How can I see it the following day? The replays are all on YouTube. You're talking about these live streams? The replays to all my live streams are on YouTube, folks. So if you miss any of these live, you can just watch it on my YouTube. The link to my YouTube is in my TikTok profile. Also, you go see it on Facebook. You can see it on Rumble. I'm live on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, X, TikTok, and Instagram. So X, my replay usually, I don't know how long they keep the replays up on X, but maybe indefinitely. YouTube is always there. Rumble is always there. Facebook, I believe, is 30 days now. So Facebook, they delete your videos after 30 days. The live videos. But everything else, they're always up there. So y'all can always catch these replays on YouTube. Ashley Nicole, thanks for the follow. Leather and Pearls, congrats on the gifter badge and the Galaxy light up. Thank you. Gary Gray said the ballroom will be done before Trump leaves off so he can throw the first big event in it. I'm guessing that's part of his plan. So I think it'll be done before he leaves, but that still gives us a big frame of 3 years. Rick Thomas says, I mean, like shooting baskets or horse. Yeah, I know what you mean, Rick. I'm not saying I don't think Barron Trump's trying to make it to the NBA. What I'm saying is I don't think he plays basketball at all. Again, I can tell by the way somebody moves, they play basketball. Especially if they're really tall. So somebody who's really tall, Barron Trump's like what, like 6'8"? I can tell by the way he walks, he don't play any basketball at all. I don't think he even touches the basketball. And good thing for him, he don't need to. His family doesn't need him to make it to the NBA. He's going to be all right no matter what. Factory Rat said, congrats, a level-headed, honest, and educated man. Well, thank you. K.M. Reed said they're being paid, and the young protesters are too. Well, the big Democratic influencers who are anti-Trump, of course they're getting paid. I know they're getting paid because I can tell by the way their posts are all coordinated every day that they're getting paid to do that. But they had to pretend like they really believe it, which is, again, not a job I would want to sign up for, but I understand. I understand the game. TX Trump said, I meant Bolton indictments, not Bannon. Did we do that one? I thought we just talked about that. I thought I talked about that. Did I just do that one? I'm seeing if I just talked about that one. Yeah, I did that one. TX Trump, babe, I think you missed that one. I did that one yesterday. The Bolton indictment. Didn't I just talk about that yesterday? Somebody who were in here yesterday? Wasn't that the topic? I do these lives every day, so sometimes I forget what I talk about. But I think yesterday's live we were talking about the indictment of John Bolton. Yes, that was yesterday. John Bolton, the old guy with the white gray mustache. Yeah, we did that yesterday. So TX Trump, babe, you just missed it. The replay is on YouTube. Marky Man said George Soros paid for it. Yeah, he probably put some money up, I would bet. Brooke Martella, thank you for the hand heart. Rick said, I always learn when I watch. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you. Jiminy Slick said, with all the security measures, not a standard construction project. That's also true. That's the reason why this might not be so quick. Those of you with these ambitious timelines, that all the security that goes into the White House, it's probably the most secure building in the country. So they're not going to be able to just do stuff the way if you were just adding an addition, like you're building an outdoor deck at your own house. It's not going to be that quick because they got to go through all this red tape to get it done. Christopher said not to get off subject. We can get off subject. That's okay. You can ask any question you want in the comments. I may not address every question, but you can ask anything. I might go off subject if you ask a good question. Rick Thomas said, you're smart and observant. Thank you, Rick. Yes, I thought I did Bolton yesterday. Micah said, ballroom is a distraction while more important issues in politics are delayed. Well, what does building the ballroom have to do with more important issues happening? That's a non sequitur. So the thing that the ballroom is being done by construction workers. It's not like Donald Trump sitting there laying bricks. So he can still do his job while the construction is going on. Two things can be happening at the same time. Our Philly said, I think that was Monday. Yeah, one of these days this week. Today's Wednesday, so I get them mixed up. But I know I talked about the John Bolton indictment. We talked about that because he put out a book and we were talking about book advances. And you know Kamala Harris got $20 million for her book deal. We talked about that yesterday. And the Obamas, Michelle and Barack, did a joint deal. They got $65 million. So any of you want to get a bunch of money for your book, go become president or run for president, and you'll get a bunch of money for your book deal. Now, if you're not president, I can't guarantee you're going to get anything. Cure Fan said, I think you should do a topic about the Dems accusing Trump and family about investing in Bitcoin. I might talk about that, but investing in Bitcoin is not a bad thing. What's wrong with investing in Bitcoin? It depends on what angle they're taking. And I usually try to find something that when I see the Democratic influencers talking about it, that also gives me a cue as to what to talk about. So I actually use them. I use them for material. So when I see them talking about something, I'm like, all right, I'll use that. So the No Kings protests. That's what we did Monday. Yesterday was the Bolton indictment, and today is this. So whenever I see them talking about something, I know that means it's gotten to the mainstream of the internet, and that often gives me a good idea. TX Trump, you're watching on YouTube. All right, great. Vincent said, why are most of the protesters in the videos old and white? I just told you, they ain't got no job. They're retired, they ain't got nothing to do, and they need something to do. Lil Rib, thanks for the follow. My YouTube is at Dre All Day. The link is in my profile, TX Trump Babe. Just look up my name. My name is Dre Baldwin, DREBALDWIN. Look at my name. I'm very easy to find on the internet. All my profiles are public. Every app on the internet that I'm on, I'm easy to find. Just type my name in. I got plenty of content on all platforms. Rick Thomas said, which of your books do you recommend to start reading? I recommend you read my book, The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. This is my most popular book as far as reading books, is this book right here. This is my most popular book with any professional audiences. This book is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. And Rick, I will even give you the book for free. Just cover the shipping. Go to thirddaybook.com. Spelled out, thirddaybook.com. The book's free. Just tell us where to ship it. We'll ship you a copy of this book. And that is a funnel. That's a sales funnel. So we got a lot of books. I've written 43 books officially, but who's counting? We will offer you more books inside the funnel. So nobody reads just one book anyway. So you might as well get a bunch of books. Rick, if you happen to be a reader or you know some people who read, you can get a bunch of books. Just go to thirddaybook.com and we will offer you more than just this book. We will offer you this book, just cover the shipping. Then we'll offer you more books while you're there. You might as well get a bunch of them. Because after you read that one, you're going to want to read another one. Millie said, it doesn't make sense when these people are yelling our rights being taken. Well, no rights are being taken. That's the whole thing. Mark said, gold flake ceiling painting takes time. Yeah, that ceiling looks very, that's not some ceiling that you buy from Pier 1 imports. That one has to be constructed. That's going to take some time. So again, that's why I said, I don't know much about construction, but that doesn't look like some simple thing. I thought it might be simple just because it's just a room. It's not like it's a house, but it's not going to be simple because of the White House security issues, and Trump probably spares no expense when it comes to the detail. Trump seems like that type of guy who does not spare expense when it comes to detail of his places. Again, I'll say, I've never heard anybody say that a Trump building didn't look good. I've never heard anybody say that. People got other criticisms of him, but no one ever said the aesthetics of his buildings were bad. Even the people who don't like him don't say that. 003 Sampson said, very informative, a new fan member. Well, thank you. Jewel of the King said, that's amazing. Thank you. Yes, thirddaybook.com is where you get this. Those of you who want to get into my Power Presence Protocol, that is our main focus right now. That is all about how do you command the room without speaking? How do you make a sale without selling? How do you get influence without trying to persuade? How do you get people to agree with you without even asking? That is all about the 85% of communication that is nonverbal. That is what we focus on over here at my company, which is called Work on Your Game, is that 85% of communication is nonverbal. We call it presence. That is your energy, your aura, your eye contact, your body language, that unspoken conversation. That is what gets people to notice you, agree with you, believe you, and follow you, even before you say anything, before you do anything, before you ask a single question. You want to get into that program, go to the link in my profile. It's called the Power Presence Protocol. We just launched that. We're doing a 5-day challenge starting November the 10th. November the 10th is when the challenge starts. You can register for the challenge at powerpresenceprotocol.com. We'll walk you right through it. So that funnel is all built out. I've been working on that for the last week. So the funnel is all built out. Challenge is $97 to get in for 5 days. We have VIP as well for $297. We have our mastermind. If you want to just jump over the challenge and go straight into the mastermind, we have that as well. And in that mastermind, you are taught directly by me. We also have executive coaching. If you want to work with me one-on-one, we have that as well. That's all at powerpresenceprotocol.com. You can learn more about that. Just go to the link in my profile, TikTok. On other apps, you see it as the pinned comment, and I'm going to update the links in my profile today for the Power Presence Protocol because I haven't even updated the links yet. Sue, Marky Man said, new book update. Yeah, new book is Power Presence Protocol. That's that book right here, Power Presence Protocol. That's actually, it's not a reading book. It's a manual, but technically y'all can't buy that. That book is not actually for sale right now. To get that book, you got to be inside of my mastermind. You go on my mastermind, I'm just going to send you the book. I'm not even going to charge you. We're not even selling that book for now. That book is not for sale right now. That is going to all members of our mastermind inside the Power Presence Protocol. So that's how you get it. That's 300 pages. That's a 300-page manual, that book right there. Just so y'all see, this is the hardcover copy. But it's a 300-page manual, and it says on the back of the book, command without noise, lead without force, dominate without words. Presence is the final advantage. It's what separates men who are noticed from men who are followed. Presence isn't about charisma you're born with. It's about discipline, energy, and control that make people adjust the moment you enter the room. In the Power Presence Protocol, Dre Baldwin, that's me, distills decades, 9-year pro athlete, entrepreneur, CEO, Work on Your Game Incorporated. I already told you all that stuff. Distills decades of discipline, performance, and leadership into a proven system for becoming undeniable. So that's all covered inside of this. Again, it's the Power Presence Protocol. Technically, 323 pages. There are no photos in this book. Okay, so when I put a book together, I do serious work. All right, so any of you want to get into the Power Presence Protocol, again, go to the link in my profile. Module 24, Sexual Polarity Imprint. So I wrote this book with men in mind. This is for women as well. And let me tell you, I'm just going to tell you a couple titles about modules. Module 28, Inescapable Presence, Inevitability Energy. Module number 36, the Physical Touch Test. Module number 42, Phone Use and Predator Presence. About people using their phones in public, not a good thing. Module 48, Signal versus Noise. Cutting through chaos with predator precision. I'll give you one more. Module 15, the presence gap, age, status, and command. That's for if you go somewhere and somebody, you're the youngest person in the room or you're the lowest status person in the room. How do you not feel like a nobody who's invisible? Module number 19, becoming the value. You are not the applicant, you are the standard. So this is the kind of stuff that I teach to people. Those of you want to know what I do full time when I'm not talking about how amazing Donald Trump is. That's a joke, maybe. This is what I'm doing. Power Presence Protocol and books like The Third Day. So we work with professional organizations, business owners, entrepreneurs, sales teams, and individuals who are serious about taking their games to the next level. This is the foundation. This is your food, clothing, shelter. This is a foundational piece. This is not an add-on. This is something that you need from the beginning. You master that energy, you master presence. Everything else you try to do is a done deal. If you're a salesperson, your prospects decide they're going to buy from you as soon as you walk in the room, not because of your sales pitch. When I have a sales conversation, the deal is done as soon as the conversation starts. Before I even tell them the price, the deal's done. They already know they're going to say yes or they're going to say no based on my energy. And it's the same thing with you. Same thing if you're talking to a girl at the mall. She knows if she's going to give you her phone number or not. Now, how long the conversation goes is up to you or her, but she already knows as soon as she saw you, whether it's a yes or a no, and how you approached or if you approached. But anyway, I digress. Y'all want to learn more about that, go to the link in my profile or powerpresenceprotocol.com. On all the other apps, I'll be updating the links today. If I have time today, let me just make a note to make sure I do that. Because I got other priorities today. Update social links in bios today. So I'll probably update Instagram if I have time today. That's that. So I do these live streams, everybody, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. So any of you want to catch this consistently, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern. If I'm not going to be live, I will tell you otherwise. Usually on holidays, I may not go live. And if I'm traveling or I have other appointments, then I will tell you other appointments that bump this off the calendar. In a couple of weeks, I'll be traveling for like half the week. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to miss a few days. But this week, we're good. So I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. And we'll be talking about, I don't know, we're just going to find different ways to talk about why Donald Trump is the best, most perfect person ever. And he should be king. He should be president for the next 10 administrations. I think that's what we're going to talk about. So, well, Heck says, Sonny on The View said the ballroom is tacky. Well, of course she did. Barb said, are your books available on Amazon? Barb, yes, but I wouldn't suggest you buy them on Amazon simply because you get a better deal if you get them from me. So you can get it on Amazon if you want, but you'll get a better deal if you get it directly from me. So go to thirddaybook.com. You get a better deal than anything Amazon can offer you. And I see to that to be true because I set the prices on Amazon and I set the prices on my own sites. Granny Catherine, thank you you enjoy your content. Cure Fan says, just got the book and the manual. All right, excellent. They'll be coming in the mail to you very soon. Carl said, I miss Big Sam today. Or maybe he was at work. He might have been at work. TX Trump Babe, appreciate you. Leather and Pearls, appreciate you. Marky Man says someone had just exploded. Yeah. All right, tomorrow's topic, I'll tell you up front. Tomorrow we're going to talk about why Donald Trump is perfect and there's nothing wrong with him and there's no possible way to criticize him. That's the topic for tomorrow. All right, so everybody have a great Wednesday. I'll see you all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Work on your game. We are out of here. Power Presence Protocol. Y'all want to get into this, go to the link in my profile. You want to get this book for free, thirddaybook.com. Everybody have a great Wednesday. We out of here. Work on your game.